is the number 2 spot completely up for grabs, or does Tyrique or Deshaun have a leg up on anybody else?
I think it's completely up for grabs. I think as you saw it out there today, you saw some guys, some different guys going out there with the ones.
Dennis Allen said it. The Chicago Bears cornerback 2 spot that usually belonged to Tyrique Stevenson for the last couple of years is up for grabs. So let's get into the All-22 today and talk about who are the competitors and who is the favorite to win the camp battle. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the German Bear Podcast. And like I said in today's intro, we want to talk about the camp battle, one of the bigger camp battles for the Chicago Bears this offseason, the battle for the second cornerback spot, outside cornerback spot, I should say, opposite of Jalen Johnson. It's one of the most intriguing and intense battles so far, and that's why we want to talk about it, because it's fun, it's interesting, and a great opportunity to get back into the tape. So today we're going to look at the All-22, talk about the fit into Dennis Allen's system for those competing players and who they actually are, who I expect to come out on top of that competition and all of that. But before we're going to go into the details and the film analysis for those players, it is important to understand Dennis Allen's new defense and how I specifically want to evaluate these players today and who I think is the best fit. So to understand that, let's look at the new defense for the Chicago Bears and the big difference we will see opposed to the Matt Eberflus-led Chicago Bears defense for the last couple of years and those players, what's going to change schematically. And the big point to make is man coverage. If we look at 2024 for both the Bears and the Saints, where Dennis Allen, of course, was still the head coach, we want to specifically look at the weeks 1 to 9 for New Orleans, because after that, he was released by the Saints and Rizzi took over as the head coach. And if we look at the man coverage percentage for both teams, the Saints had no defensive back under 32% of a man coverage rate. So over 32% of all Saints DBs individually were in man coverage situations. Now, if we look at the Chicago Bears in comparison, for all defensive backs, the man coverage rate never exceeded 20%. And if you look at the cornerbacks for the Bears, just take the safeties out of consideration, no corner had a man coverage rate over 16.5% for players that had 20% of the total snaps potentially played in 2024. So huge difference in the man coverage area. And then also the exotic blitzes for the Chicago Bears are going to be much more this year, which is going to be a lot of fun for us fans to watch, because the Saints had overall 3 defensive backs who had a pass rush percentage on pass plays of over 5%. For the Bears, it was only 1 player, and if you watched the 2024 season for the Bears and watched every single game, it's evident which DB that was. It was Kyler Gordon, who is actually the second most blitzed DB in the league last year, or who was on pass rush snaps during pass plays. So he was far over 5%, but there was never a guy also over 5%. So there's going to be more versatility, more players being used in different spots. Obviously, Kyler's still going to be used that way. They used Alontae Taylor like that as well for the Saints. So I think he's going to play that role, but it's going to be more exotic blitzes. And more exotic blitzes also means more man coverage, like I said before. So that's going to be a huge difference for the Chicago Bears, as Dennis Allen does like his man coverage looks. So for today's video, we will actually evaluate those 4 players that I have in my rank based on their man coverage ability, how much man coverage they played, and how they looked on the All-22 on tape in those man coverage situations. So that's going to be the point of evaluation today. We're not going too much into zone coverage. We'll look at the man coverage skills, as these corners are required to play more man in Dennis Allen's defense. Now, for the questions that we want to ask ourselves overall for today's video and get back to in today's conclusion, first of all, who is the favorite to win the cornerback 2 spot, obviously? Who are the guys competing, as we'll get through the list of players I think have a shot at this spot. And then lastly, are the Bears in an overall good spot for the corner position, and also the depth at that position, is it good or bad? And this might not be a big surprise for you guys, but the favorite, in my opinion, is Tyrique Stevenson. Yes, he had a rough 2024, and I think a lot of it was just mentally, specifically because when you get back into the stats and into the tape, he did look pretty good. It's just sometimes he gets into his head too much and is not focused, which causes him to lose games or reps, right? So obviously for him, the big challenge is to bounce back, prove the coaches that he's valuable to this team as a cornerback number 2 spot. But also, speaking about the tape and the stats, why is he my favorite? In 2024, he had a man coverage rate of 14.7%, so not a lot of his snaps were actually man coverage reps. Like we covered, the Bears didn't run a lot of man coverage overall, so there was not too many snaps for him. But he still had a really good outing as he was in man coverage. He only allowed a 53.3% completion percentage overall and allowed a NFL passer rating of 75.4 in man coverage as well, which was a team best for all DBs on the roster last year. As for some additional stats, he had 2 pass breakups, 1 interception, and 1 touchdown allowed in man coverage. Now for Tyrique Stevenson, obviously the big thing is his talent, and when you go back to his college days in 2022 when he came out of Miami, that's why he was such a highly thought of talent. Press man coverage skills. So I think the Matt Eberflus zone defense where he needs to sit in a spot and react to the quarterback and read him is one thing, but I really think he fits into a system where he can be aggressive, use his physicality, and play downhill. And in 2022, he had actually a 27.9% man coverage rate, a big jump to what he had with the Chicago Bears. And I think that's one big reason why I'm excited for him to be in this new system, because I truly believe he can excel. Now, if we look into the All-22, what did I see for his 2024 man coverage performance? I think you really can still see that physicality at the line. If he gets the opportunity to press, he can hold players there at the line of scrimmage. Also late into the rep, he closes distance, engages a little bit, and is just physical at the point of attack, which I love about Tyrique Stevenson, and that's why I was such a big fan of him coming out of the draft anyways and being picked up by the Chicago Bears. I do think he's a good athlete. He has good recovery speed with his size combined. He is a very good athlete. He has solid ball skills on tape and a good trigger as well. So if he sees the ball being released by the quarterback, he identifies the route, he can trigger downhill and make a play on the ball or make the immediate tackle and just prevent a bigger gain from happening. Now, from the cons that I saw on tape, I think just his focus and concentration is evident on tape. Sometimes he gets caught looking at the quarterback too long instead of the receiver, and he just loses them during the rep. So that's the biggest thing for him, mentally being ready and just being focused throughout the rep, focusing on his assignment, his alignment, and what he needs to do on the field. So that was the big thing for Tyrique Stevenson. So overall, I think, like I said, he's a much better fit in Dennis Allen's defense. That's why he is my favorite to win this job. And I am excited to see what he does for the rest of camp, preseason, and then in the regular season, because I expect him to be the starter as well. Now for the competitors, we want to start off indoors, in-house with the Chicago Bears and talk about Terrell Smith, also the other young cornerback on the roster that is, in my opinion, one of my favorite players and most underrated players on the Chicago Bears roster. He is for sure an excellent zone corner, but the question I ask myself is, how is he actually in man coverage? Now for 2024, he had 121 coverage snaps overall, so obviously far less than Tyrique Stevenson, and 17.4% was man coverage snaps for Terrell Smith. He allowed a 83.3% completion percentage and an NFL passer rating of 106.9, so obviously worse stats in that area. But for the All-22, what I saw there is, first of all, his fluidity. I think he has excellent hips. He can turn whenever he wants and is really not losing any speed, so I love his hips in man coverage. I think he's a super smart player in zone and in man coverage to know when to get off of a route or how to move and read the quarterback and break on a route in man coverage. And I also think he has a great trigger downhill, just like Tyrique Stevenson. So if a receiver breaks and the quarterback releases the ball, he can trigger downhill and make a tackle or a pass breakup. Now, the big issue with Terrell Smith, in my opinion, is his speed. I think his initial speed and also his recovery speed is not really there. So he lacks a little bit the athletic ability to stay in man coverage. So that's the one thing I worry about a little bit with him. But then again, if we move back into zone, he is a totally different story, and I love what he offers as a zone corner. So I think he has talent in man coverage. It's just how much can Dennis Allen and Al Harris, the DB coach, get out of him moving forward. Now moving on with Nan Wright. He's the first free agent signing for the Chicago Bears that we want to talk about today as a competitor. Wright is a 2021 third-round pick by the Dallas Cowboys, a 6'4", 185-pound cornerback, so very lengthy and tall cornerback right here. And I think he's 27 years old, if I am not wrong, or he will be 27 by the start or early on in the 2025 NFL season. He's an outside corner that spent the last year with the Vikings but didn't get any playing time. Now, for the contract with the Bears, he signed a one-year, $1.1 million deal, so a very low veteran deal. Prove-it deal for the Chicago Bears here, and he's one of the hotter names during training camp so far, as Allen has specifically noted his improvements during training camp so far, and also he took over for Jalen Johnson as he's injured in camp, so that's obviously a big reason why he is on this list today. Now for his tape, we went back to the 2022 tape today to get a better feel for Nan Wright and just talk about what he did back then, because he had 91 coverage snaps. He didn't have that much playing experience overall so far in his NFL career, but 2022 he had the most reps. And of those 91 coverage snaps, 27.5% was man coverage snaps. Now during those snaps, he allowed a 50% completion percentage only, a 92.7 passer rating overall, NFL passer rating at that, and had one pass breakup in man coverage. Now for his All-22, what did I see watching Nan Wright? I think first of all, like with Tyrique Stevenson, his physicality at 6'4" is very much evident. He loves to press at the line of scrimmage and just jam players hard to keep them there and get them off of their initial first release and just disturb the timing with the quarterback, right? So really great physicality at the line of scrimmage and throughout the reps as well. I think he has really good recovery speed. He's not only 6'4", so he has the length to recover, but he also has great speed to get back into a rep into the second level. And then his length, like I just said, he's a very rangy corner that can get to multiple spots on the field. Now for the cons, I think he does stop his feet at times, which causes him to lose a couple of reps, and he also bites on double moves and on a couple of good releases from cornerbacks, so I think he could do better. He just needs to be better disciplined with his eyes, and then the consistency with his physicality was something I also noted. I wish he would have been physical throughout every single rep I watched, but he was not. He got pushed back a couple of times, even though I think he can compete with almost everyone physically in the NFL, especially receivers. So overall for Nan Wright, I think he's a very good player that has showed out in training camp so far, has pretty good tape, and the talent is evident as well. So for me, also a guy that has a great shot in this cornerback 2 battle for the Chicago Bears. And we want to finish off this list with Nick McCloud, another free agent signing for the Chicago Bears, and one of the guys I did not expect to have a lot of fun at watching his tape, but I definitely did. So Nick McCloud was a UDFA for the Bills in 2021, but then spent the majority of his career with the Giants, also earning a second contract with them entering the 2024 season, but then got released mid-year and played the rest of the year for the San Francisco 49ers. Played more nickel there, which I didn't like too much his tape, but we want to evaluate him for the cornerback 2 spot, which is obviously a outside cornerback spot for the Chicago Bears. He's 6'1", 190 pounds, and a versatile corner at 27 years old. His contract that he signed is a 1-year, $1,320,000 contract, and he was also a player that Dennis Allen mentioned in his press conference a week ago as a player that was impressive so far and that learns quickly in his system. So that's obviously high praise again for another corner that the Bears brought in free agency. And for Nick McCloud, we want to go into the 2023 tape a little bit, where he was under Wink Martindale, who's obviously a blitz and man coverage heavy guy, so that's great to evaluate him. And he also played at outside cornerback. He had a 44% man coverage rate under Wink in 2023 for the Giants, so a lot of reps that you can look at. Allowed a 55.6% completion percentage on 80 man coverage snaps overall. So those 44% was 80 man coverage snaps. Allowed a 114.1 passer rating, which doesn't sound great, but he had 1 touchdown allowed, and as soon as you allow a touchdown, this passer rating shoots up for you, so that's obviously why it is that high. And he had 1 pass breakup in man coverage. Now for McCloud's All-22, I think he has great aggressiveness at the line of scrimmage. Like with Nishan and Tyrique, he has a physical corner that can get handsy at the line of scrimmage, which is not bad, or I mean that in any bad way. He has great speed, can keep up with a lot of players in the NFL at the receiver position. He can make plays on the football. A great play where he punched the ball out of A.J. Brown's hands after he had tight coverage. Brown still caught the ball, but he knocked the ball out late in the rep for a fumble and a recovery for the Giants. So great play right there. Has a good trigger, good instincts overall. So in man coverage, I thought McCloud was really, really impressive. And then for the cons that I saw, I think he had a couple of reps where he had some happy feet. So consistency with his footwork would be better for him moving forward. But I think Al Harris, if anyone, can fix that easily, as he is one of the best DB coaches and most respected DB coaches in the entire league. Also, sometimes I do think McCloud leaves too much space downhill because he wants to keep the receiver in front of him, even though I think he has the tools to be more physical, attack the players at the attack point, and just recover them with his speed because he's such a good athlete. And then lastly, I think the cushion pre-snap, he needs to be a little bit more cautious with those because he just sometimes gives up past the sticks already pre-snap, has too much leverage, and then it's easy win-win for a first down for a receiver. So he needs to change that up a little bit as well. And then overall for McCloud, he was a very fun watch in my opinion. I do believe he could be a very fun guy in the defense overall for Dennis Allen. He's a good guy to have on the roster nonetheless in my opinion, and he should be able to compete as well for that spot. And then for a couple of honorable mentions, I just wanted to talk about Shaun Wade and Zay Frazier a little bit. Zay Frazier, obviously the 5th round rookie out of UTSA for the Bears, hasn't practiced yet this offseason, this preseason for the Bears, or this training camp for the Bears, excuse me. So in my opinion, he doesn't have a real shot yet. We have to see how he develops, but he is a talented guy that in the future can definitely take over that spot too. So obviously, Zay Frazier, I didn't forget about him. He just hasn't practiced yet this training camp. And then Shaun Wade is an interesting name for the Patriots, who comes from a very man coverage heavy team as well, especially in 2023. He had over 40% man coverage rate as well. So he has a lot of experience in that area. He was just not as impressive as the other guys mentioned previously. So for the conclusion, the strategy for the Bears this offseason was clear. Bring in corner competition for Tyrique Stevenson and for better depth, and they need to have man coverage experience. And I think the Chicago Bears, Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen nailed that perfectly. Brought in Nan Wright, Shaun Wade, and Nick McCloud, 3 players with a lot of man coverage experience that will compete for the cornerback 2 spot and gain some great depth for the roster as well. Now, who's the favorite? Like I said in the video, Tyrique Stevenson is just too talented not to be the favorite in my opinion, and the system should just simply fit better for him overall. Who has a real shot? I think McCloud and Nan Wright really do have a shot to get the cornerback number 2 spot. I think Terrell Smith, I want to see. It's just not a lot of man tape that we have for him to judge from. So, I mean, he could be a package player in my opinion. I definitely want to see him on the field. It's just for Dennis Allen to figure out how good he actually is in man coverage if they want to put him out on the field in those situations. And then are the Bears in a good spot depth-wise? Yes, no question. Just with what I said right now, we have pretty good depth with those players being on the Bears roster competing for the number 2 spot. And finally, I'm just excited who comes out on top for this battle. Ryan Poles did a good job of bringing in depth and competition at the same time. And at the end of the day, it should be great for the players as well, because competition usually brings the best out of players. And then we should also have the best player at the end playing for the Chicago Bears and starting for the Chicago Bears at that spot. And with that being said, guys, that's the end of today's episode. I really hope you've enjoyed it. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun as well. So let me know in the comments down below what you think of the cornerback number 2 battle for the Chicago Bears and who comes out on top. Also, I would appreciate a subscription from you guys. It's completely free, so make sure to leave a comment, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. And with that being said, guys, I see you after the first preseason game for the Chicago Bears. And as always, guys, bear down.